This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HRH Combat Arms. They can turn your vision into reality. They specialize in gunsmithing and Cerakoting. Your Cerakote specialist is Air Force veteran and retired police sergeant Paul Ware, aka the Sarge. He can Cerakote your firearms, auto parts, tools, even your sports equipment. And then your master gunsmith is Marine veteran Steve Miller. This veteran-owned business is located at 5025 Saunders Suite 103, Fort Worth, Texas 76119. You can call them at 682-304-0363, and you can find them online at www.hrhcombatarms.com. That's www.hrhcombatarms.com.
All right, sorry, we had to take a little break. My mother-in-law needed to move her car, and Keenan was parked right behind her, so we didn't plan that one out. Okay, so let's dive back into this. So you're
back
asking,
in there like swimwear, baby.
You're asking about the logistical things of.
No, we've covered the logistical things. I think you like clearly like I get that, and I think most people would kind of understand the logistical nature of things. I think that is the most obvious barrier. Even on somebody on the outside, I mean, that just makes sense. Like we don't, a lot of people have an experience at a job where they need overtime, or just especially with the economic climate that we got in this country right now, where people are like, jobs are giving people 36 hours just so they don't have to consider them full time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that I think people understand, but I think what a lot of people that critique the police or law enforcement in general would want to know is what are you learning? Like what is the culture? Like what are they teaching you to prepare you for this situation? So I'm framing that in, if you're saying that more training is gonna better prepare me, then my next question would be, okay, how? Okay, what are you see where I'm going with it now? You see where I'm going with it?
So let's say it's an 8-week academy. I got to get just the meat and potatoes. Use of force, the law, penal code, and search and seizure. Let's just say, and traffic code, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, what you're going to deal with. This is you have to know certain type of things are more likely to happen in your daily routine.
Right.
So I need to prepare you to deal with the things that are going to happen the most.
Right. But what I'm not getting, cultural diversity. Let me think. Longer use of force training where you're actually grasping the concepts. Because person that's done martial arts, if I were to teach you how to throw,
it's been years.
Yeah, but just boxing. Let's just say that just the 1, 2, 3, 4. Just teaching you how to do that, or just a 1, 2. I can show you how to do a 1, 2 over 4 weeks. You're still not going to have a good 1, 2. And then when you get done,
not at all.
And then when you get out on the streets, you're not even going to use that 1, 2 probably for months.
That's why I was kicking ass in the tournaments.
Right. So
because I had the streets.
Yeah.
they had the 1, 2. I had the streets for the ass.
So you don't use it, and it's a perishable skill. If you don't practice it, you're going to lose it. So let's extend the academy. Right now we're getting like Obama. He put in the 21st century policing concepts. Okay. That's some training you're gonna get. You're gonna
what are those concepts? Because that's a term that I think most people it's just gonna go. I'm sorry, that's gonna go over most people's heads. Like I've never heard of 21st century policing concepts. Okay, that's a new one for me.
Basically, what 21st century policing concepts are, and this is, I'm not an expert, and it's been a minute since I've studied them, but they've got these pillars, and it's all about like. Breaking down like community relations, taking care of the police department internally so it is healthy, having that bridge between the two, understanding each other through not just emotion but statistics. So the numbers.
So we've analyzed. We've paid people to look at the numbers for years. We have numbers for years. Yes. We've been documenting this for years. Now, what does it mean?
So now,
and we think we have an idea of what it means. So this is how we can put this into practice.
Right. But then it breaks it down even more of, not just people tracking your numbers from the outside, but you tracking your numbers internally more extensively. And I'll give you an example. It's one thing to track how many times your department's used a taser.
Yeah.
Okay. That's easy to track.
Yeah.
But now we want to look over those reports, and I want to know the situation that you used it in. Was it, you tried to arrest somebody that was non-compliant and you used warnings? Okay. How many warnings you give? Now I want to track that information. How many times did you use the taser? I want to track that information. It's not just a taser use that led to an arrest or a taser use that failed. Now it's here is what I tried to do. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. Because I want to know, if I can help you avoid using a taser, that's what I want to do. So now I track all the information on all the times a taser was pulled, but not used. Why wasn't it used? What did that officer do different?
Are we still in the analyzing phase?
Always.
Well, this is true.
Always.
This is true because we always learning.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that have the people that set forth this 21st century policing model, have they come up with a hypothesis or a theory of action that they believe addresses the data that they have? Or are they still kind of are they leaning more towards a solution more, or are they leaning more towards we're trying to come up with this thing and it sits under this umbrella of some kind of philosophy or theology of how we feel of what we're trying to achieve.
If you would have asked me that when it first came out, we're talking during the Obama administration. If you would have asked me back then, I would have told you all they did was take a concept that's already existed, repackaged it, and called it something new.
Okay.
And what I think they did was they just repackaged community policing. Community policing, when it's done right, is wonderful. I think and the reason I say it's always changing is because back when community policing,
who came up with that? If you don't mind me asking,
community policing, you could argue that Sir Robert Peel is the person that came up with that, and we're talking back in when bobbies were first made in England.
I was just going to assume he was English because he's a sir.
Sir, right. So basically the concept was that back then policing needed to be professional. So they had to be trained. It couldn't just be, Joe Blow off the street. Hey, you look tough and people know you, so we're going to make you a cop. No, it was more of the aspect of I want somebody from the community that's a leader, that's respected. And
they have to be part of the community.
Yes. And then gets trained and makes it professional in a sense. But the whole point was you walked a beat and you knew your people because you were from that area, or you took the time to get to know everybody, your business owners, your bad guys, your good guys, everybody. So that's it wasn't called community policing.
I think I seen some of this in when I lived in Fort Worth when I had my ice cream truck.
Okay.
I think I seen some of this in action. It was something that was new for me coming from Austin because that was not the vibe.
Not the case.
No.
So LAPD, and I could be wrong on this, but I think they're the ones that really made it popular. They're the ones that coined it in a sense. And
okay.
The reason I say it's always changing is because, like me, I grew up with this.
Was there something about LAPD's model that made it like, okay, we're that's working? Or
yes.
What was that?
So prior to the community policing era, we'll put it that way, there was a disconnect. Cops weren't walking a beat anymore. They're in a patrol car.
Okay.
So their communication is limited now because now he's in.
When I see those lights, man.
Yeah, because now he's in a car. We're not seeing each other. You're not going to come up to the cop car to come talk to me, generally speaking.
Well, when I see a Crown Victoria behind me to this day, I get goosebumps.
Right? So it's a disconnect. So now we're not talking to the people anymore. And then there was a push for it's hard for me to explain. I call it just the facts era, like professional policing. Like we stopped caring and trying to empathize with people. And it was, man, I don't care how you were feeling. I just need to know the facts. Like who was here?
And that came afterwards. That came after community policing.
No. That pushed community police. That's why.
That's what led into.
Yes.
But I'm saying, did we come from the facts model and then the LA model tried that and y'all started seeing the results of that? And then that's what you're saying, kind of led. So we came from
you came from that robot cop to somebody you could relate to. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So we were trying to get away from the robot cop thing and get into somebody that is a community leader more than just an enforcement model.
Okay.
So instead of me showing up just to arrest somebody, I take the time to step back, look at the bigger picture, and use the discretion if I have it. So, I mean, that's one thing that I want citizens to understand. There's certain situations, felonies, I personally I don't have discretion anymore. I can't get away from that. And although I wish I could sometimes, because there's some circumstances where you could explain yourself how this happened and I agree with it, but it's out of my hands. I'm bound by law. Otherwise, I'm criminally liable. I don't want to lose my job. I want to support my family. We'll have to figure it out in court type thing. So felonies are out of our hands. So, but once the community policing model got going, all these new tools started happening. And this is what I wanted to get to when you asked about the analysis part. Like, did we get to a point where we could just fix things? We keep coming up with so much new shit that there's never a fix yet. Like a formula.
I don't think like we're ever gonna have a formula for the simple fact that we all got like hearts in our bodies that pump blood, man. It's a human condition. But I think that there's the study phase and then there's the test day phase.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you might not make 100 on the test. You're probably not going to make 100 on the test.
Yeah.
But like when we're in that phase, we're not studying no more.
Right.
Like not to say we're not, as an institution, you don't have the people running the numbers. You don't have the people doing the analysis anymore. But our focus now is on the answer that we came up with from what we did when we were focusing on studying.
So I'll elaborate a little bit more. As we've progressed, we've gotten new tools such as body cams.
Okay. Yeah.
Newer tasers. Newer ways to communicate with the social media, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't have Snapchat, but I know that's one. So you got all these.
You got a TikTok, man?
Yeah, I do have a TikTok. So you got all these new.
Y'all show me. Everybody's talking about TikTok.
Yeah. So you got all these different avenues.
You got kids though. You got kids,
Right.
Yeah.
Now and this is my own personal theory. So this is an exclusive for everybody out there.
Oh, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
People don't talk like they used to, right? Kids don't go outside nearly as much. They're not out doing as many things. But social media presence of all the negative stuff has been out there. Now it's kind of like a thing to go try and rile a cop up while your friends film and stuff like that. Well, those cops are the older generation, and they don't understand that stuff. So now we got new training that's got to go out there to try to get cops to understand about filming and things of that nature. Because, like you said, it's a human aspect. People are trying to get us riled up intentionally just to get a lawsuit or whatever it is. That's one factor that cops have to face now.
Clout tokens. They're looking for clout tokens. That's the currency of today.
Right. And so now you're getting pushback from a younger society that doesn't have a lot of real social interaction anyway. And what I mean by real is like this.
It's real to them.
It's real to them. And I'm not discounting that because that may be the way we're going. But
that's what that's something we got to get used to, right, man, because that's the reality of it. And I'm not. But now we're talking about 21st century policing, a model that they tried to give us a solution for a society today that doesn't exist. Yeah. For the beginning of the MySpace era.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm trying to get to is that things have changed so drastically just from that time that even if you came up with a great community policing model
approach, or
it's not going to be the same.
They're always it's inherently always going to be a little bit behind the curve.
Right. So this is me trying to catch up and show people through education and communication, since they're not going to come talk to me face to face, and I can't get out in the community and talk to them face to face because they're not going to be there. So now I got to reach them where they're going to be, and that's going to be on their damn phone.
Do you really feel like, you said they're not going to be there. Do you really feel like that's a thing, or that's going to be a thing? Or do you feel like, or I'll say I'll leave it there, and I'll say I feel like that's kind of a pandemic thing. Like I don't think I don't think the opportunity to communicate, one-on-one with people is ever gonna like really cease to exist. There might be other avenues that people take, and I don't care if you're talking about some old 50-year-old guy that's like doesn't even know how to use a smartphone, or a 13-year-old that's on TikTok. Especially when you're talking about, low income communities, because, like right now in the projects, I haven't been in the projects in years, but, let's say like people are not going outside as much because it's COVID, but, the way neighborhood, economics works, especially in low income neighborhoods, projects, the lowest part of society, like people are outside because they ain't got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So I don't think maybe for a sub martial law state that we're kind of in right now because of COVID, and I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think there's different ways of looking at it, and they all have levels of legitimacy, but you take that barrier out the way and just like let people be themselves and walk outside and do, and that becomes not something that you fear like, oh, I'm going to catch something and die. I think, people are outside and the opportunities are going to be there to talk to them.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's going to just straight up disappear. I'm just saying as a whole, it's less and less than it ever was before. Like, even with the pandemic, yes, I think the pandemic exacerbated it big time. I think it made I think it actually helped us because it's different if you're choosing not
probably
to go
a lot
outside.
More domestic stuff.
Oh,
yeah. That's probably went through the roof.
It's one thing if you choose not to go outside, but when you're told you can't go outside or you shouldn't go outside, and then all of a sudden you can again, which is kind of where we're at right now. Like
we're getting there.
Yeah. And now everybody's like, whatever excuse they can get to go out and be around people and be in society. So I think that's kind of helping things. I think the pandemic helped us realize that this is important. But still, even when you go out today, what do you see when you see a bunch of people at dinner at a restaurant? They're just playing on their phone. So that's kind of what I mean is like, yes, they're out, they're doing things, but they're still and I think that creates a desensitization. Yes. Desensitizes people to empathy and things of that I look at when I look at
just a cell phone, just that thing right there.
Yes. So if I can't beat it, if I know I can't have an effect on making that go away in a way that I think would be acceptable, then I got to join it. I can't fight it. And I think cops, in a general sense, we hate change. Everybody in a position that they're good at, they don't want to change things.
I will agree that most people, a lot of people, hate change. Right. It's so beautiful.
Like, I'm sure you're the shit at DJing, and you understand it.
Man,
you got it down.
I'm just, I'm all right, man. But I'm just, I just put the shirt on, man. I just put the shirt on, and But
what if they flip the software on you overnight? You do an update, and they're like, "This is the new." Now you're like, "Damn it! I had it down. I don't need this."
I see what you're saying.
I don't need this change because I got it down the way I had it. Why are you changing things on me?
I see what you're saying. I can empathize with that for sure. I can see what you're saying.
So that's what I get with cops. We
I think I think that makes a lot of sense. I love change though. I'd be looking at it. I'd be looking at like, now I can do something new.
Yeah. And I'm with you, but I think we're outliers on that, because like with me, I knew what I wanted to do with this. I didn't know how to do any of it. That would intimidate a lot of people.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, "No." And not trying to make this
this is going to be hard,
a bragging moment, but I was like,
this is going to be hard. Oh, fun.
I was like, I'm going to figure this out because I believe in it. I think it's worth it. And I like a challenge. You got to keep challenging the mind to stay fresh. So
yeah,
that's what I did. And, I think that right now, the way with the community policing stuff, if we're going to make a longer lasting impact, we have to get with the times, and we have to start using the tools that guys like you are out there. And I'm not saying you personally, but you're not a cop is what I'm getting at. You're out there on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever it is. So we need to be out there on it too. We got to figure out how to do it. Now, me personally, I had to figure out a way to do it that disassociated me with my department, because there's liability issues. There's no training on this.
That seems real tricky.
So
it seems like a real tricky thing to implicate, because all the cancel culture stuff and all that going on. Yeah,
it's risky.
It really is. And it really is.
To me,
now what you say can be held against you.
Right. And I'm walking the walk. I want to reach the community and want to make things better. So I'm having tough conversations. I'm trying to do that.
How does this work with being, an officer? Because even though this has nothing to do with your department, I'm pretty sure you can say something that will affect your job. It
could. Yeah, it's a risk. It's something that I know could happen. So I try to be like, obviously I don't do anything live. So I make sure that when I edit,
if something does happen,
if I say anything or whatever, I basically follow my heart, if that makes sense. If I get fired because I followed my heart,
hey man, only way to fly.
Yeah,
only way to fly.
So if I get in trouble for saying something that I truly believed in, it would be tough. It would be something that I would have to deal with my family. But it's obviously something that my wife supports, and it's a risk we're willing to take to make things better. We're service people. My wife's trying to be a nurse. I'm
gonna ask you a grown up question, because it's something that I've found myself kind of struggling with. I ain't gonna say struggling with, but I've been pondering. I ponder that a large reason that I haven't gotten, farther, or maybe done some of the things, or I can't say that I think I should be anywhere. I think I'm exactly where I should be right now. But you know, if you know, physical things are a bar for success. If we're gonna like premise it with that I'd have more physical things and therefore more success. I as I'm getting older, I'm starting to think that a youthful version of me follows my heart, right?
Yeah.
And that's the child in me.
Yeah.
But then I think about, you know, what if I would have followed my mind?
Would you be happy?
I'm not sure that I wouldn't. I'm not sure that I wouldn't. But I think about it because, you know, as when you're younger, you can make mistakes more because you have the physical tolerance to deal with the consequences of your mistakes more.
Yeah.
So your priorities are going to change due to you know, the survival that's in you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just made because I'm a follow my heart type of guy.
Yeah.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
an eternal optimist.
But I've thought about it, and I'm like, you know, for instance, I want to double. I'm trying to double major. So I was thinking about, you know, finance is for sure one, but then on one hand, I have like I want to double major in finance and economics. That's what my heart wants to do.
Yeah.
But my mind's saying, nah, bruh, you need to do finance and accounting. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll ask myself the question on top of that. Have we learned our lesson? You've been following your heart, son.
Yeah.
Have we learned? Are you gonna do what you always do?
Yeah.
Or are you gonna do what you should do this time?
Yeah.
You know? I'm just asking you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, being a heart following person, is this something that you've pondered or
I
something
think it's
along
a balance.
those lines?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I definitely followed my mind. You know, I've listened logically instead of emotionally, but
yeah, that's a way of framing it for sure.
I think when I joined the military, that was a logical. I needed it to reach happiness down the road emotionally. So it was a means to an end. I knew I couldn't afford school, and I needed a way to get that. And I knew that was going to give me the edge. I knew I could be a cop without having a college degree.
When did you know you wanted to be a cop?
I've always known, in a way. It's hard to
explain. Is it family or?
Yeah, it's many factors. It's bad cops, growing up with bad cops around me. Up in Flint, it was having cops in the family, having criminals in the family.
Did you think you were going to change the system?
I still think I'm going to change the system.
Okay, right
so,
on.
I don't know.
That's what's up.
That's
awesome.
That's never going to stop. I am changing the system. I've seen it. It may not be on the grand scale, but I've seen it on a small scale. So, and that's why I get into the fulfillment part. As long as you're doing a job that doesn't feel like a job, there are days, like you said earlier, there are days, but when I go to work, for the most part, I don't feel like I'm going to work. I'm just going to serve another part of my life that I like doing.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I do. And I got a great team. So that makes it even better. The team that I work with has the same passion, which people get in police work for all different reasons. So when you're in just basic patrol and you got a guy that he's using it as a stepping stone to become an attorney, or you got another person that's like, I just needed a job, or another person is like, I did this because they pay really well here. There's all different walks, all different walks of life. Yeah.
People become cops because of the money?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to understand.
Wow.
Like, okay, if I were to tell a person from Flint, where I'm from, that, hey, you got a clean record, I know if you tried to be a cop in Flint, you'd be making $13 an hour. But if you come down here, you'd be making $40 an hour. They would.
40's not bad.
Their jaw would drop because you don't need it. You don't need.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's to them. And then cost of living wise, it's not much different. To be honest, I mean, it's
I can see that in Flint.
It's not
for sure.
So it just depends on your motivators. My motivators were, family, the way that mostly the way that family looked at anybody in service. So, and I don't just mean cops, firefighters, military guys. Nurses.
I think those fields kind of have a common paramilitaristic backbone.
Yeah, and when
at least that's what I saw. Even in the paramedic and in the firefighting field, they had that kind of structure.
Right. But for me, what really stood out for me as a kid was when you go to a family reunion and you see who everybody always congregates around. It's those guys. Those ones that were,
Look at the cops?
Not just the cops.
Or the firefighters,
the nurses, the paramedic, firefighter, the military guy. That's who the family congregated around and talked to and looked like. It's just they didn't say it, but it's just the look that they got and the way that everybody flocked to them. Like, to me, that's probably the most significant factor of why I got into it. It was because I wanted my family to respect me and my family to look at me that way, I guess.
What do you think about how did you reconcile that with the reality that it's very high risk?
It never was a factor. Never
thought about it.
No, my thought on death and getting injured or any of that, or
and I'm not saying for you. I'm saying, like, if you're saying that your family is, that's like the primary driver. I think that would be like my first thought is like, okay, if family's my primary driver, I'm choosing something that's extremely high risk of taking me away from them. I'm saying that would be my part of my thought process, and
I guess it's never really been a thing because it's accepted. You know what I mean? Like
everybody
except that's
everybody that's mature enough to understand.
Yeah,
that.
I've never had anybody who's like, no, you that's good for Uncle Tony to do that, but you're not doing that's too dangerous. Like, that's never been a thing in my family. My family has been, if you feel
you never think about that reality, or
nope.
It's never.
No, I got a very Viking mindset about that stuff. I
don't know what that means.
I don't know where I got it. Basically, like, if I die on my shield, I die on my shield. Like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You go down like a warrior. And that's just the nature of the beast. You can die as an old man in your bed, or you can die doing what you love and trying to make a difference. It's going to happen either way.
Gotcha.
We can't outrun it. So I have two daughters, you just saw them. If I go down, then they'll be sad, but they're gonna grow up knowing that their dad did what he loved and he was trying to make a difference, and that's
a dope role model. I'll admit that.
Yeah. So I'm a parent. I'm always going to be teaching them some way, and if I teach them through death, then I teach them through death. So you can't escape it. We're gonna die.
Yeah,
I don't want to die.
That in Texas.
Yeah, I don't want to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to go out in a blaze of glory. I don't want that to happen. Trust me. And
for Sparta.
Yeah. But in that sense, like,
if it comes down to it, right? If it comes down to it, yeah.
I'm hoping that at least I made an impact in my fishbowl.
Okay.
So that's just the way I look at it. And I think if you can't have a mindset similar to that in this profession, that's dangerous. It's dangerous to do. I'm not saying you can't do it. I don't think anything's, mutually exclusive when it comes to that stuff, but
okay, this is kind of a random thought. Do you feel like some police officers are afraid? You're not.
Just to
you've established that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm not saying like afraid of somebody taking a picture of them and posting it or getting them riled up on camera. I'm saying, like, literally that fear that you don't have. Do you see that in some of your brethren?
Oh yeah, for sure. I can tell you right now, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen cops fail to engage because they were scared. Now, they didn't say it, but but
yeah,
actions speak louder than the words.
Yeah,
so,
you got your soul took, man. You died today.
Now this goes into training. Sometimes, I would say the majority of the time, fear comes from a lack of training. Lack of
knowledge. Yeah, lack of knowledge
causes
overall.
hesitation. Hesitation becomes a safety factor for not just that officer, but the person they're dealing with. If I have to arrest you and you're not fighting me, but you're pulling away and wanting to, doing the thing we see on.
I don't want to go to jail today.
Right. I paid that warrant, whatever. But whatever it is, we're in it. You're resisting me. If I'm a confident officer in my training, in my abilities, I'm going to work that out quick, fast, and in a hurry. But if I'm an unconfident officer and I'm scared, and it's okay to be scared but confident. Because I get that way sometimes. I'm scared, but I
know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I know how to handle business. But if I'm scared and hesitant and unsure of myself and unsure of what I can and can't do because of a lack of training and experience, now instead of me maybe smacking you across I'll just use that example. I smack you across the face real quick, take you down, put you in cuffs. The worst.
Why you gotta slap me for? Right? Is that part of the training?
But the unconfident officer, he goes to a baton and just starts wailing on you because he doesn't know what else to do. Now, would you rather get slapped by me one time, real fast, taken down, cuffed, and I dust you off, or would you rather?
When you say slap me, are you using that as like a euphemism?
No. I'm using it as like a little open hand pimp slap, bitch slap, whatever you want to call it. That's one of my favorite things to do.
I don't know, man. That's kind of like, that's one of the most disrespectful things you can do in the South. That, spitting in somebody's face is a little bit worse.
Okay, I'm not going to spit because we got biohazard. Okay, so this is, anybody out there listen, this is why I like the slap. If I punch you, it's game on. If you intend to fight.
So this is a tactic. When you say slap, you're saying like as a tactic.
As a tactic. So you box and all that stuff. If I punch you in the head, I'm gonna hurt my hand.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
I'm more than likely I'm gonna hurt my hand. And two, you're gonna know it's time. It's go time. Like if you plan to fight me. However, if I open hand slap you, there's that moment of, did he just fucking slap me?
I think it just depends on the person because the punch might. I could see him just being just worse for different reasons.
I'm not saying 100% of the time, but the majority of the time.
I mean, you have a reason that you're doing it. You're not doing it.
I'm not just slapping you to slap you.
Yeah. It's part of you delivering your services.
Now, yes, if you're resisting me and I'm like, you're under arrest, you're going to jail, do it the easy way or the hard way, and you choose the hard way, and I slap you, that's my distraction strike to get in and take you down and put cuffs on you. Or would you want to be tased?
I would say
I wouldn't want to be tased.
I would say that because you're a white officer, that a slap is pretty freaking risky.
Okay.
I would say that because what we have in the media right now, I think can take that and turn it into something else. And I'm gonna be honest, when I heard it, it sounded like something else. So I think on a cultural level, a slap is it's just such a high form of an insult. And when you're already predicated by or there's already a view that you don't respect me to begin with, and you come with like one of the absolutely most disrespectful, approaches to doing something, I actually have a lot more respect for a person that'll punch me than slap me. Okay. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Because like if you punch me, I'm not a fighter. I haven't gotten to fight in years. I don't look forward to fighting. I don't want to fight nobody. Don't want to hit nobody. But if it came down to it, and a person punched me in the face, I'd be probably looking at it like, all right, now we gotta go. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm looking at you as a man that got an issue with me, and you had enough balls to do that, then somebody that slapped the shit out of me, and I'm like, oh, so you think I'm a bitch? It's a
okay.
So
okay. I haven't looked at it like that.
So I don't want to get into a fight at all, but I just kind of feel like, and that can come from the way I was raised, but I think I was raised in an area that is the area, a culture that, you're trying to have a conversation with. Yeah, man, like, like respect is everything. Respect is everything. And even in insulting a person, you can insult them with dignity. And I think, slapping a person is just, it robs them of all their dignity.
Okay. I have never heard it that way.
And that's just my take on it. That's just my take.
That's the whole point of the conversation.
Just like seriously, if a person like if a person hit me and we got into a fight, I would win, I would lose. I'm not fighting to lose, but I'm looking at it as a fight that's happening. This person slapped me. I want to hurt you now. Now I want to hurt you. Right. Now I really want to hurt you, and I don't even want to have them type of feelings.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But here's the difference that I'm looking at it from my lens is you're already resisting me for the purpose of an arrest. It's not me and another dude on the street, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you, and I just slap him in the face.
Yeah, that's true. But you do have like this, like on even on your show, you have a lot of officers have kind of like pushed forward. I'm a human too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which if you're gonna, I get that it's for a different purpose, and I don't even think this is like extremely important to just get hung up on. Okay. To be honest with you, yeah. But I just. I'm not saying that punching is the right thing to do. Yeah. Didn't say that. Definitely didn't say batoning or hog tying is the thing to do. But I don't see how slapping is any better. And maybe you don't have any other option. Maybe in your experience you've seen that that's effective. I would even put it like this. Okay, so somebody's arresting you, or you're arresting somebody. They're struggling, right? And you punch them. The news media picks up on it, right? This officer punched it. I could see how, under those circumstances, there was a struggle, a fight ensued. What's your job to do? Like, I got to do what I got to do to put this person in handcuffs and put him in the car.
Right.
I mean, that's inherent in, he had like a warrant for domestic abuse, or, like he had some crystal meth in his pocket or whatever,
Yeah.
This guy's struggling. The same situation happens. This guy's struggling. You lock him up, but in the process, you slap the dog shit out of him. Now it's, this white cop slapped the shit out of me. You know what I'm saying? On top of the fact that I got locked up, that becomes the headline. Now the headline isn't a struggling ensue. If people are struggling, throw both. I think that punches are going to get thrown. I think you kind of know that. You know what I'm saying? If you slap the shit out of them and that doesn't get their attention, are blows gonna get blown? Probably. Right.
The purpose.
I feel like it's. I think you're saying that the purpose is to make it not go to blows, right?
So
on a certain level,
anytime I strike somebody with whether it's my knees, my feet, my hands, open hand or closed hand.
Okay.
The purpose behind that is to move in, to get in a position of control.
Okay, gotcha.
So
all right.
I'm not like when I hit people, like I'm not squaring up and like, all right.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. That puts them on the even playing field.
Right. So when I'm usually is how it starts. I'm struggling with the hand, like turn around. They keep turning on me, and then it's bam, slap them, and they're like, it's that quick stun, just enough so I can get that arm behind their back or take them down to the ground. So I don't have to keep punching, and I don't have to keep throwing strikes.
That makes perfect sense. I still think that could get framed really bad from a media perspective.
But do you think punching somebody?
But I have to agree that if the goal is to startle the fuck out of somebody, slapping would that it would work. I could see it. I could see it for that purpose. I just think that could go so wrong narrative wise. I just could see how it could go so wrong narrative wise.
And I look at it as a safety aspect too. If I slap you, typically there's not going to be any real damage to you. There is a chance you could get knocked unconscious. I've seen those slap fights where they have you ever seen that? The big dumb idiots just slapping each other across the table. But you can get knocked out from a slap. So
sure.
But there's a stun factor to being slapped.
Definitely stun factor.
So you got a good stun factor and
really good stun factor.
A lot less risk of damaging your hand. Because I've punched people like I skipped off a guy's forehead before. I'll never punch. I'm not gonna punch.
You
people.
hurt yourself, that you don't. Forehead is not where you want to hit.
Or if you get a grounded suspect where they're down on the ground and you got to go throw a hit or something, and you try to punch, you end up hitting the ground.
You hit the ground.
You don't even hit them. So it's just risky. I don't like punch. I don't like punches. So for me, I'm trying.
That's what works.
Yeah,
that's what works for you.
I'm a big jiu-jitsu guy, so I don't typically have to hit people. Period. I can figure out how to grapple them up, pretzel them up enough so nobody gets hurt. But yeah, so the point that I was getting to with all that is hesitation causes escalation.
Thanks for bringing it back.
Of use of force. So if I'm not confident in what I'm doing, I'll end up using heavier grade weapons to even maybe my firearm versus using personal weapon strikes, which is just hands, feet, fist, regular stuff. And I would much rather have to arrest somebody with just my hands and my feet versus going to a taser, going to a baton, going to pepper spray, or ultimately going to my firearm. So if I can get somebody under arrest with just my hands, using, manipulation of physical force, I think that's the best way to get it done. It doesn't look the best on camera, but I think it's a lot better option.
Better than all the other than all the options that are not your hands and fists.
Yeah, my goal is to never have to go to my Batman belt. That's the way I look at it. I don't want to go to the weaponry on there. If I can get it done with these, that's the best.
And you're saying that hesitation and that fear is a large part of why officers make that choice.
Yeah, and you see the bad stuff in the news because you've got an officer that clearly, and this isn't in all cases, but generally speaking, all those bad videos you see, I see an unconfident officer, a lack of training on an officer.
What's done at the chain of command level to acknowledge, you said you've seen it. Y'all, I'm sure y'all have to write your narratives, your subjectives and objectives and all that. I'm sure paperwork comes with the job. So what is done on, from the top down to recognize, these cops, he's all right. He goes out there and does his job, but they're they're those three over there. They're scary. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of scary, and they're could possibly be a threat to themselves or the community because you throw them up into the kitchen and their ass is on fire.
Yeah. So
you know, like, so what's done to kind of like figure out who can take the heat and who can't take the heat,
right? Because
if you're saying, you know, I believe that a lot of the stuff that goes on, it is a matter of, you know, it's a cop in a situation where they can't take the heat. But if my cousin's dead because of that, you know, I don't really give a shit that you was afraid in that situation. My cousin's gone.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just kind of interested in that, or I'm sure it happens. How does that get corrected or get dealt with?
It just depends on the severity, obviously.
Because it doesn't have to start with somebody dying. Like you said, you've seen it.
Yes.
And it might be a benign situation, but you recognize then, no. He was in over his head.
Yes. So you'll get I don't know what to call it. Can't think of the word for it. You'll get training. You'll get like hey, these are the deficiencies we're seeing. We're demanding that you get, 40 hours of, retraining on this, and that.
Okay.
So you get pulled from the street and you don't get to go back out until you complete that training.
Okay.
And then through that training, you'll be assessed and graded, and that goes into your file. Like, he was retrained, and something as simple as a pursuit.
Okay.
There's these moments where you're chasing the bad guy, going down the street, and they momentarily go down the wrong way of the street, and it's clear, and you see that it's clear, but if you don't follow them, you're going to lose them, and you take that, you break GOs, and you follow them the wrong way down the one way for a half second, whatever it is. Well, you caught the bad guy, you did everything right, but that was a violation, and that was risky, right? So now you got to go back through training. So, okay. And that's a benign thing, but it's on your sergeant to review your video camera footage and stuff like that. And he's the one that's got to see it first, and it doesn't stop there. That video and that report goes up the chain till it reaches its final destination.
Do you feel like it's an effective process?
I do, and this is why. Because, yes, like, let's say I'm your sergeant. More than likely, we're at least somewhat tight. I would hope. And I'm going to look out for you. You're going to look out for me, just like in any job. You work at 7-Eleven, and, you're the manager, and you see your boys constantly getting free drinks out of the thing. You're going to overlook it.
Oh, hell no, nah, man.
You're gonna bust them.
Nah, that ain't. Nah, we gotta nip that shit in the butt.
Right. So
we gotta nip that shit in the butt.
But that's where
that shit spreads like cancer.
Yeah, right. So, but that's where it stops, is when I'm not saying you're overlooking anything illegal.
Nah. I'm not even saying like against going procedure. I'm just coming to it from the standpoint of fear. I don't believe that you can teach courage. I think you can learn courage, but I don't think you can teach it.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
Right.
I'm fine with being wrong about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can teach somebody that's afraid to not be afraid. You can train them procedures all day long, but if fear is not a logical emotion,
right,
it's not something that you can address with a logical response. If you can address fear logically, you're not afraid.
So the military, I think the way I understand what you're saying, and what I'm getting at is training. Bad situation happens. Fear doesn't have time because training takes over. If you're minimal training, fear becomes a huge factor because you didn't even have enough training to muscle memory you through the fear. And I guess a good way to think of that would be
have you experienced that?
Fear?
Nah, have you experienced what you're saying? You're saying that if you get into a certain repetition, you're not gonna have to beat somebody up every day, or I don't even want to say that.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have to arrest somebody every day. I hope. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure some police do in some situations, but I don't think every cop is arresting somebody every day.
Right.
You know. So I'm saying that, like, if you're saying, have you experienced training? You know, you're doing your job. Extreme situation where I felt fear, training took over. That's how I dealt with it.
Yes.
But I can go home and reflect on it and be like, I did feel that.
Yeah.
I responded to it with training, but I was.
Yeah, absolutely. I have, multiple times. And I guess one way I could explain it is, when you're a rookie, that 0 to 5 year mark.
Okay.
I know how to talk to people. Like, I just have that skill set.
You're an Aquarius, man.
Yeah, I've always been able to just talk to people. But what makes talking to people harder is while I'm trying to talk to you and have a genuine conversation while I'm trying to figure out this call, like I'm on a domestic and you're involved, right? But now I'm also thinking like, all right, what law did he break? Do I have to arrest him? Is this something I can work out? Meanwhile, oh my God, he's pulling away. He's trying to fight. Like, now I'm in this weird like
system overload.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I'm vapor locked. I don't know what the hell to do because I'm like,
yeah, you're petrified.
He's pulling away, but did I even have enough to detain
him? Should I be like, is my protocol? Should I have even gone that far?
Right. But year 5, I've handled a million of these domestics where now I'm like, all right, dude, like clearly you did this, that, and the other. I already know before I even start talking to you that you're going to jail. So if you do pull away, I'm already ahead of the game. I'm waiting for you to do that. Like,
no.
So that's
you're prepared.
I'm prepared. That's through the repetition, the training, and I've done it a million times. But that's why it's so dangerous for a 0 to 5 year officer, and those are the ones that get in trouble the most because they're trying to figure the job out. It's not that they don't know how to talk to people necessarily, which is some of their problem is they don't know how to talk to people. They could be the greatest cop in the world.
That's also something that I don't think can be taught.
No, social skills. And I'm with you.
You can learn it, but you can't teach it.
And this is the other hard part to blow your mind. How do I hire you based on, like, there's no test for me to figure out if you have social skills. I can do a 10-minute panel of asking you questions, but
that should reveal something.
I've got 100, 200, 300 other people that are going to come in the room. I got to get you through as quick as I can, but still try to make some sort of honest assessment. So how you fake it till you make it type thing. I can ask you questions, but does that mean you're going to be able to hold a real conversation? Can me as the person trying to hire disqualify you because for that 10 minutes I said he doesn't have social skills?
Yeah, I'm sure on like just like any industry, there's a certain level of what the needs of the institution are gonna trump the best decision in this situation.
That's the balance is like quality of hirees and the need. Those constantly are teetering back and forth. If you're behind, let's say like Baltimore,
you need to hire so many
Baltimore
cops.
has 3,500 cops for their size, and Dallas is we'll say the city of Dallas is the same size
as Baltimore. Yeah, probably similar population, probably similar demographic.
But they have Baltimore. Half the cops, so their need is way higher.
Yeah,
so your quality could dip.
That makes community policing really difficult.
Right. So these are the constant battles is like, okay, well, we have a need for all these officers, but if we keep our standards high for hiring, the number of officers we get through is going to be a lot lower. So
yeah, will we be able to execute the overall goal?
I think keep your standards high, because yes, you may be short on officers, but the quality of work that you put out is going to continuously go up. If you let the quality officers start to dip just because you're trying to reach a numbers need, you're never going to be where you're trying to go. You're going to keep chasing your tail.
Yeah.
And then you're fighting your
the snowball effect.
Yeah, you're fighting your community trust. Because if you got shitty officers because your hiring standards went down, now this is where that divide starts to happen. So I say, above all, keep your hiring standards high.
I know Jeff Bezos got in some hot water real recently. I think some stuff got leaked, or a former employee had said something, and I'm definitely paraphrasing, but it was along the lines of, I don't want anybody to work for me for that long, because they're just gonna get worse over time due to human nature.
Okay.
Do you feel like that's something that kind of like exists with I guess with your job?
You mean like burnt out officers, like they just
like you show up the first week of work, or you show up the first week of school, you're on your best behavior, 3-4 years into it, you're not working as hard. When I showed up on my first day to work, man, I was sweeping the floors. I'm trying to make use of every second of my time. Then I figure out what the job is, and I'm like, Facebook, I can, it's all right,
Yeah. I think that will always exist. I think you give and take.
I'm not pissed off at Jeff Bezos, because I don't think you can really argue with that.
Right.
But
I can
kind of sucks that you don't want people to work for you for that long for that reason. That was your, what you realized that and said, I don't want anybody working for me that long.
I mean, but it's hard, because the reasons I want to be a cop and the way I do the job, this is the beauty of being a cop, is I have the freedom to do it the way I want to, the way I think it should be done. So if you come in there and you're like, no, I'm just answering calls. Like, I'm going to handle the calls and that's it. I ain't going above and beyond for nothing. If there's a house fire over there, I'm not a firefighter. That's not my job. I'm not trained to do that. I can't let the way I think police work needs to be done affect the way I look at you, because what makes my way right? I can't say the way I'm doing things is right. I can tell you the way I'm doing things is best for me.
Okay.
So.
All right. Professor Morales.
Okay.
This was your question. I got to get 100% product, and I think I have it in my mind verbatim.
Okay.
What is the job of a police officer?
That's a loaded question.
It's really philosophical. I mean, but I'm asking you, and I'm saying that because kind of piggybacking on the last things you were talking about.
Yeah. I think at a bare minimum, my job is to help enforce the law. I am the authority granted by you, the people, to go do that, so you don't have to. So we'll say at a bare minimum, my job's to just be the face of the laws that everybody's enacted. And then the philosophical part of that is...
That's very philosophical.
For me is to look at the gray area. I'm just kind of giving you how I police.
Yeah.
I look at the gray area and I try to use my experience to look at the big picture. And I use my discretion where I can. So that doesn't mean always enforcing the law. That means thinking outside the box and trying to figure out new ways to handle things so we can resolve things for the best of both parties, whether the party is the state and the suspect, or the party is a victim and a suspect, or the party is just victim, suspect. because you can be the victim and the suspect at the same time.
Sure.
So I'm like a Maury Povich out there. No,
I don't see the connection there.
But no.
Are you saying that you're not the father?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
so I think the way that I do police work today, for me, is the way I look at the job of a police officer, and that is, it's not black and white. Quit looking at things black and white. Not everything's mutually exclusive. No matter what, I'm dealing with 3% of the population at the worst moment of their life. So I need to look at that empathetically. I need to look at that with the eyes of justice. I need to look at that with the life experience I've had. And I need to look at that as a, I don't know what the word would be, just the general well-being for everybody. Society. I need to look at it from the eyes of society. So when I deal with somebody, those are all the things running through my mind. I pull a car over. The guy was speeding. Let's say he was doing 20 over. Okay. He doesn't have insurance. But he's got a license. I see he's got construction clothes on. He was trying to get home. I take the time to hear him out. I don't just assume. Take assumptions out of your head. And then I find out he was rushing home because of his kid's birthday. He's trying to get there before the candles get blown out. And he's got 12 kids at home. Well, I could tow his vehicle. I could take him to jail. I could do all these things, but is that the spirit of the law or is that the letter of the law? The letter of the law allows me to do those things, but the spirit of the law is what I need to look at.
Does the letter of the law compel you to do those things?
No, it's not a felony.
Okay.
So I think we need to look at the spirit of things more often when it comes to enforcing.
I think that's you kind of skimmed over it earlier.
Yeah.
And this is like, new knowledge to me. I love learning new things. But you brought it back up. You talk about, being able to kind of make your own judgment when it comes to misdemeanors. How does that work? I'm just curious because you talked about it kind of a little bit earlier, and it came back up asking about what the law compels you to do.
Right.
So is that a thing? Is that a Dallas thing or?
Yeah. So no, that's law enforcement across the board. You have discretion, and prosecutors have discretion where they can say, all right, I see this is your first time offense. You're being charged with a felony, but we're going to bump it down to a Class A misdemeanor.
Yeah.
So there's discretion, and it helps this criminal justice system flow. So for me, and it's just taking it all a factor. And I want to make it perfectly clear that just because I decide to enforce the law, like let's say I'm going to take this guy to jail on his Class A misdemeanor, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. That's just taking.
That's what you got charged with.
That's what you're getting charged with. So my judgment in the street is something that, over the course of a 20-minute call, I got to get you processed. I got to make those choices. I got to take in all those different factors.
Is there a line that you make for yourself?
Never.
I mean,
every situation is different.
That wouldn't be a good way to place it. Like you made the example of the guy that was, trying to get home to his kids.
Right. Which he could have been full of shit.
Not a man, growing up you had to learn the right things to say in them situations.
Right.
Man, but that being said, maybe not a line that you draw. Is there like an MO that you kind of go with to guide, because let's just be honest, man. Like being arrested, going to jail, I don't care why you're going. and this is kind of a reason why for me I would never want to be a cop. I'm not saying that there's not virtue or there's not purpose in it, but the other parts of it would be like I can find virtue and purpose in life and not have to deal with those things, and it's my choice. So I choose not to go on a motorcycle. You know what I'm saying? I choose, I'm sure when you're popping your willies, you're feeling great. It fulfills you, but nah, that ain't for me. But bringing it back to like, the fact that that you know that if I arrest this person's life is going to be negatively impacted for it minimum 6 months, maybe, a couple of years.
Right.
And even it's like Class B misdemeanor, right? Which a lot of people would think is pretty benign, right? So having the weight of that knowledge, is there kind of like an MO that you would follow? Maybe not a line, but an MO to how you would approach people for those smaller situations. 'Cause like you said, felonies, you don't have a choice. It's felony, I gotta lock you up, right?
Right.
Because like, just the type of person I am, like, if I can let you go, I'd let you go. Maybe a work is different. Mm-hmm. Work is for moving forward. Mm-hmm. You go to work for a check to move forward. If you fuck up on the job, you're fucking up your upward mobility. So I'll hold you accountable. If I'm your manager and you're drinking sodas out the soda machine, I'm not going to just write you up, but I'm going to tell you better quit that shit, right?
Right.
And if you don't, bye. But it's different when the outcome is you're backwards. You're always backwards. You get locked up, you're back. Your forward progress didn't stop. You took 10 steps back. Right. So is there kind of like, and when I said line, that's kind of what I'm going, like, what do you use to guide who you're going to give a Class B misdemeanor with? Because I could just see that weight being like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm sure for a lot of cops on some level, it's quotas probably factor in there somewhere. No. Doesn't.
No. There's no.
Maybe, and I'm not saying for you. I'm saying
quotas don't exist.
Quotas don't exist.
No.
This is a fantasy.
They were a thing of the past. 70s, 80s. That was a thing. And then they realized like the mistakes of having a quota. If you start having quotas, now you've got a motivation.
All right. So there are no quotas. We ain't got to dig deep into that. So if quotas are not a thing, why do you arrest somebody for a Class B misdemeanor then? If you'll use discretion for this guy, like why I guess that's a better way to ask the question. Yeah. Why do you give somebody a Class B misdemeanor?
Okay, so
or arrest somebody for a Class B misdemeanor?
It's hard to say because, like I said, I take each situation individually. I don't have a blanket for anything, but
okay.
There's factors that I look at. So let's say a Class B, a DWI. So I arrest you for drunk driving.
You don't have to lock somebody up for that?
So let me explain. So
you can get away with that?
Okay. Not necessarily.
I'm not saying getting away with it, but you can walk away from that?
This is what I'm getting at. I pull you over for speeding, okay?
Okay.
And I get up there and I can smell maybe an odor of alcohol or something. Now, I haven't proven that you've been drinking or driving or anything, but I'll look at your car. Let's say I look around your car. There's no damage to your vehicle, which tells me you didn't get in an accident between the time you saw me and let's say I pulled you over right around the corner from your house. And this is all hypothetical.
Yeah. No. And that's exactly what I asked for. I said, what is a reason? Not the reason, but a reason.
So I see that you almost made it home. I just happened to get you before that. You're a UPS driver. If I give you a DWI,
you're done.
You're done. Now you're the main breadwinner for your family. I mean, these are all factors. Now I pull you same dude over. He's right around the corner from his house. He's got 4 DWIs already on his record. I could see it on his driving record. You got to go. You got to go to jail. You're not learning your lesson. You are a danger to everybody else out there versus the guy that he's a UPS driver. Maybe he was on the border. I didn't see any overt signs. There's just a lot of mitigating factors.
On a certain level, then, and kind of what I'm kind of sensing is on a certain level, would your reasoning kind of be on a certain level, this could be something good for you. Is that something that is
there's always a self-reward portion to that where if I said this, I saw this guy had 4 DWI, to me, I'm saving a life because this guy now that class
might get treatment and
that class B, and he's gonna go do actual time and not get let out on bond and then just keep reoffending and doing. He has an issue. He has an alcoholic issue going on. I mean, the signs are all there, right? So I don't look at it as ha ha ha, I got you. I look at it as
no, I don't think I was even insinuating.
No, but for people that listen, when I say self-reward, I guess you could some people could surmise
it. It didn't sound good. I'll be honest with you. It didn't sound good the way you said it.
I think the way we do everything that we have a passion for, we get some sort of self-reward. And so I don't get a self-reward because I just took somebody's freedom away. I get self-reward because I look at it I just saved somebody's life. You talk to people from MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You talk to any of these people, and if they heard that you let somebody go that you suspected of drinking and driving, that's no bueno to them.
They would lose their shit.
Right. So you're always fighting that demon. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So at the end of the day, if I can lay my head down on my pillow and sleep, then I know I made the right decision. So have I made decisions and then later kind of second guessed myself and regretted it? Yes.
You ain't living if you ain't did that.
I've done it. I've arrested people where I'm man, my mind wasn't in the right place. I was a little, maybe I was dehydrated. Maybe I sleep deprived, whatever it was. I made a decision I wouldn't normally make. Maybe I would have gave that guy a warning versus arresting him. I've done it. It's happened. But you don't realize that until after the fact. You're physically not able to see yourself. Now, was it wrong? No, according to the law, I followed the law. I did. Yeah. I followed policy and stuff. But for me internally, I looked back and I'm I would have handled that different now. Now, looking back, I would have done it different. And that comes with experience. Now, I could tell you most of the decisions I've made in the last 7 years of law enforcement, I'm happy with all of it. But I had the experience to get me to that point. Now I'm in a groove right now where I love all the stuff that I've been doing. Doesn't mean I can't make a mistake still, but I'm really happy with where my career's at right now. So
where do you think law enforcement is going? Where do you think it's headed?
Right there. Stuff like this. It's all going.
What's flock? I don't know what that is. Flock safety.
So flock safety is a camera system. This is one of their things right here. This is a sponsor of mine. So this thing's a gunshot tracker. I don't know how else to put it. So basically, somebody fires a gun off.
Like that. Is it like that video game where just bullet time?
It's like on a video game where you see the radar in the corner and somebody shoots a gun off and you see a red dot and you're like, oh, somebody fired from over east.
Oh, so yeah, I don't play games.
Okay, so
I'm thinking of something that was probably on N64.
So it's something like what I'm describing. So basically, it works in conjunction with a camera system. So let's say the gunshot went off behind my house, right?
Okay.
The camera would go that way because this thing told it where the gunshot came from. And so now you have a good chance of seeing the suspect or whatever it is. So when cops go to respond, they know what they're getting into. Hey, a suspect that fired a gun off just got in a black sedan.
So, like, are they just like the police state? Is this like they're gonna have these on everywhere on like headlights? Like,
so it's limited. So this is how we have checks and balances. Because I'm with you. I'm not about having Big Brother everywhere. But
I didn't say that's how I felt, but
okay.
it wouldn't be a bad assumption.
Okay. But what the tone you gave, that's the vibe I got. So, but what I'm getting at with this is a camera system that's everywhere in public. So if I had a right to film you, just a Joe Blow citizen with my phone.
Ain't that kind of like what they say Europe's like?
Yeah, a little bit. They're a little bit more invasive though, and they have a lot less rules and regulations.
Private space. They have a lot less private space.
So with this, all it does is gets vehicles and plates. It's not looking in houses. It's not looking inside businesses. It's not doing anything like that. So just talking vehicles and plates, stuff that we've always kind of had around. And it remains, it gives a level of privacy. And then that data isn't stored for a unreasonable amount of time. So, it's not an indefinite amount of data, stuff like that.
That'd be expensive.
That would be expensive. And it would also be going in, like, I think the Big Brother police state type thing. When you see the percent that it's lowered crime, I think that's when people jump behind it. Because like I said, the checks and balances are there. They're making sure that
it's hard to be a criminal nowadays, man.
There's always new, greater. They just figure out new ways to be criminals.
It's hard, man. Like I wouldn't want to be a criminal nowadays, man. It's too easy to get caught, man. Man, you got cameras everywhere. How you gonna get away with anything?
Yeah. Well, it's in that infancy state right now. Like this technology's so new. Like they'll figure out new ways around the crime. But right now, it's fish in a barrel. It's so easy to catch these guys.
It's kind of small too, so you don't necessarily know where. Well, the streets do talk. That goes up in the neighborhood. The streets are gonna talk. The first person that gets busted is gonna tell everybody.
But here's my thing. I want them to know where it's at.
Yeah,
because you know what? If you know where it's at, guess where you're not committing those crimes.
Commit crime.
You're not gonna commit crimes.
That's the whole point.
So I like it, man. I think it's sweet. It's helped me out personally. I use it almost every day.
So surveillance, that's where we're going.
Not just surveillance, but real time.
I'm saying as a concept. I'm not talking about police state. I'm just saying when you talk about where we're headed, you're saying
that's where
more or
investigation
better surveillance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because that's policing didn't have this. Think about it. For the last, let's say, 30 years, we had surveillance cameras in like convenience stores that were black and white, grainy. But today things are getting. I mean, we got 4K. We're talking about filming with phones and stuff. Yeah, we're at a different level,
and it's cheaper.
And police work is
a lot cheaper.
Just catching up to that. We're always behind. So we're trying to catch up and figure out how to investigate. Now you need a motivated detective or a motivated officer that thinks outside the box and is like, "Oh, your car got burglarized. Okay, do you have any cameras? No, you don't. Okay, well." I really don't have any leads. Am I going to take the time to fingerprint your car and hope for that to go through?
Oh, I've been through that.
Based on, your earbuds that got taken?
Oh my God. That's just such a horrible feeling.
Right. It's an invasion of your privacy and it's taking your money.
My shit is gone.
Right.
my shit's out of there.
But this is you as a citizen who pays taxes. You have to start weighing, like, if I fingerprint your car and then I send those off for analysis, how much did I just cost in time and money and for your $100 loss? You got to weigh that. But if you're an officer in the street now, you got to start thinking, like, do you have an Arlo? Do you have Ring camera? Do you have Pixel? Do you have all these different camera companies that are for personal home security now?
Do you feel like home invasion has kind of gone down in the last I'd say maybe like 10 years due to the surveillance type stuff going down?
That's yeah, I think it's gone down. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think for sure. I think it's gone down. And I think they've figured out ways to, like, now they go masked up. Like, they change their tactics. But I think there's a dip right now. It'll go back up.
Would you surmise to say that the way to bring crime down is to make it really hard for people to do it?
Yeah,
that works.
Yes, and do it in a way that's peaceful. That, you know what I mean? So they say an armed society is a polite society. I think everybody should exercise their Second Amendment rights in some way.
Yeah, I'm from Texas, man.
You know? Exactly.
I'm from Texas, man.
Almost knocked that bottle over.
And I'm trying to I know this goes against everything. I'm trying to sell all my guns. I don't even want them anymore. But I still stand behind it.
Okay.
I still believe in it.
You let me know. I'll check out your guns because I'll buy them. But
I might have it. I might have it with me.
Okay.
I have to let you check it out. We got a P89.
Oh, okay. Nice. But I also think if we can start lowering crime through technology, because it's not just investigating video cameras now, it's investigating social media. Our cell phone is a tracker.
Yeah. That's scary. That's kind of scary.
Yeah. And it's not just our cell phone. It's our watches. It's everything. We are tracked all the time by China, by whoever it is. We're constantly being tracked. So
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I said it.
I didn't say. I didn't say the C word. I didn't say it.
I said it. I'll say it again. So, what is that? Huawei and all them.
Once again, I didn't say it. I want to do business in China.
Yeah, all right. You do your business in China.
I want to do business with China.
So I tell you what, these guys are hiring. They're blowing up so fast. If you're looking into marketing and sales and finance and all that stuff, dude.
Marketing? No.
Okay.
Nah. I've met marketing guys in business and they're kind of jerks.
Okay.
The ones I've met,
Be the change.
Nah. I like building shit.
Okay.
I like building shit. Like, building the coolest ice cream truck ever.
Right.
What was fun was like.
Did you call yourself Big Worm?
I actually was very, very similar to Big Worm. I was a lot younger. It took a lot of personal growth in coming. Wanting to do the right thing, like not just doing it because, I don't want to get in trouble or I don't want to get locked up or nothing like that. Like, I'm doing it because, like, I feel like, if I do the wrong thing, it's gonna decrease the chances that I'll be successful having so much fun and finding so much fulfillment and having all these dope ass experiences that I can only get this if I do what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, back in them days, I was. If you can read between the lines, I was big fucking perm, all right.
Funny.
I was big fucking perm for many years, for sure.
Okay,
but man, like marketing, like that's cool if you're into that. I've thrown my hands in the bag, doing the YouTube thing and trying to get my name out there. I've helped other people market their thing, and I just, man, that shit ain't for me, man. I like building the shit.
Yeah,
like I like figuring out the background ambiance of what my YouTube channel is going to be and where I'm going to angle my cameras and who I'm going to talk to and, having those conversations and getting the gear, the excitement when you're taking the stuff out the box and you're plugging in your microphones. I like that way more than getting the word out that I got a channel. You know what I'm saying? I could care fucking less about that shit.
Yeah.
I like managing the team of 800 people and having those Zoom calls, you know, with my managers and having to talk to somebody that got lost 30 minutes out the way and having to pull it up on the map and figure out where he's at and get him to his job. Way more than I like going to a fucking bridal show and being like, hey, you can use us for our services. You know, like, I love, fuck all that. Like marketing, no, I'm good.
I got you.
I'm fucking good.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
I got you. I'm trying to be the same way. I'm trying to be the same way with this. I'm trying not to be, because I don't like doing it. I feel sleazy. I don't like going. I want the product to speak for itself.
I feel like, you know what, just fucking come up with a marketing budget, because there are those sleaze bags that fucking love doing what they do.
Yeah. And
there's a beauty to the variety of people out there, and it's great when you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like you saw, I'm doing all this stuff myself. I'm cheap.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be.
Yeah, but hey, let it grow, man. Yeah. Let it grow. Give somebody else a job.
Yeah.
You know, that's
if I ever get to that point.
That's the other reward.
Yeah.
That's the other reward, you know. And that's another reason that I got into business. You know, one of my best highlights was giving the kid a summer job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a mental reason why I got into it. Outside of, you know, I really like what I'm doing, but I was like, yo, I'm gonna give somebody a job. Like I'm gonna create some shit that people are gonna eat on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
that's why you want to be a businessman.
Yeah, man.
Like you said, it's your adrenaline rush, man.
Yeah, man.
I get you.
I
I
love
see
it.
the passion.
I love it.
I see it.
I love it, man. You know, shoot, you know, and then, you know, I'll be like Frock, you know, hey man, y'all want to go to these, you know, cop shows, gun shows, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where y'all promote, you know, where they would promote it, but you know.
Yeah, they're so new. They're using me.
Yeah, y'all got stuff like that. Y'all got like little, like, you know, rent out stuff where y'all show the new tech. And, you know, symposiums.
I think they call it
SHOT
like Show. That's the big one. That's the one they have in Vegas, where all these type of companies show up.
Dodge pulls up with a fucking pimped out Hellcat with all the sirens and shit. You know, like.
So we're almost at 3 hours, sir. Did you have any other? I want to make sure we hit all the stuff that your class had.
All right. I was waiting for you, man, because so I guess we're in the lightning round. I did intermingle some of those questions in there.
Okay. I was gonna say, I
felt like that would have been a much player way to pull it off. But
I think you did a pretty good job, because you brought up your teacher's question,
but I know there's a couple of ones. So, ladies and gentlemen of Two Cops, One Donut, you're in the lightning round with the real DJ Indy.
Let's go.
All right. I'm gonna start out with I think I wrote one of these myself. How do police officers reconcile their personal biases with their duty to law enforcement?
So that's pretty simple for me personally. I just don't let my personal biases affect it. Like, you're a smoker. Like, you know, and I go in your house, like, and you broke the law or whatever. Maybe not broke the law, but I have a decision to make. Am I gonna use discretion and give you a warning, or am I gonna let my personal bias, like, this person's a piece of shit, they smoke, they stink, and this house is disgusting, they're going to jail? Like, no, I got to take that part out of it. So for me, like, it's simple. Like, I wouldn't have got into this line of work if my personal biases were going to be. Now, is it something that guides me? I think the moral principles guide me. trying to do the good for good. But,
okay. Now, when I wrote that question, I was kind of rewriting a question that one of my DJ's friends sent me, and in the way he worded it, I was like, "This is." When I was telling you, like, some of these questions are rhetorical, and that's not the point. I'm not here to ask you something that I already got the answer to. What's the point?
Right.
But I know the reason he worded the question that he did, and it's somewhere in my email, so I'm not gonna look it up.
Oh, you're good.
But the reason that he worded the question the way he did is because for a lot of us, we feel like especially when you talk about police and race relations, that a lot of police come to grow up with certain personal biases towards race, right? Some of them, if they're, I kind of feel like if you're conscious of it, you shouldn't even really fucking be a cop. Like, if you consciously know, I don't like this person because they're black, because they're poor, because of anything. But I do think it's possible to understand that you are not the same as the community that you're in,
right?
That you're policing,
right? So, like a white officer,
I'm not saying a white officer can't be the same. You got a lot of white officers that grew up in the. Well, I'm not gonna say officers, but you got a lot of white boys that grew up in the hood. Like, right. they identify with more black culture. You put them in, a rich upscale neighborhood, they're gonna be like a fish out of water.
Correct.
So I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be because they're white, but I'm saying I'm pretty sure, or that because they're white.
Right.
That's how they are. But I'm sure there are white officers that know that they are not that. They don't identify with that. They don't understand that. And if you know that, then you have to, on a certain level, know that you can't operate without bias, because you're not the same.
Right.
You don't even know how to relate to that.
Right.
So when I'm talking about personal biases, I do want to frame it in respect to race relations, because I know the person that I'm not as, I know that's where he was going with it.
Right. So the way that I would look at that is, let's take the easiest one. You take, middle class, upper class white boy becomes a cop, and he's a rookie, so he gets put in the hood.
Okay.
Right?
Is that what they do? Is that a thing?
That happens. Sure.
No, that just kind of seems backwards.
But
you're a rookie, you go to the hood. Ooh.
Typically, this is what happens. When you're a rookie, you get put on midnights on the worst sides of town. Why? Because those with experience, now they get to put in for the other sides of town, because openings happen there. So
hold what you're gonna think, because I feel like I want you to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think that there's something inherently flawed with the logic of putting the least experienced person with the least amount of connections into the situation where they're most likely to fail when human lives are on the line? I mean, in business, I completely agree with you. In, I don't know, cooking or teaching, right, or something like along the lines of where nobody's gonna die.
Right.
Throw the rookie into the flames.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
But don't you think there's something inherently wrong with that when we're talking about human life?
So,
and then we'll get to the bias.
Right.
But that just caught my attention.
So, we're talking police work in general across the board, across the nation. That's just
and because you were saying like we do that, and I'm saying I'm asking you if that's how it goes. Don't you kind of see that as a
I look
issue?
at it. I understand what you're saying. It seems kind of backwards. But
you might not be able to get around it. Funding, pensions, whatever. I'm not saying like if it's possible not to do it. I'm saying doesn't that seem kind of fucked up?
Right. But one, you don't have enough people coming in. And how many people from the hood that you know want to come do this job?
I get that 100%.
So as a person who came from Flint,
it happens.
I can tell you right now.
And I'm gonna tell you the ones that I've met were fucking excited as hell to become cops.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm coming from is like, it's awesome when I get to go work in a neighborhood, you know, like the one that I work in that reminds me of home. Like, because I can relate to that a lot better than if I go over to the rich side of the world in where I work, which will go nameless. I work in Voldemort, so. So that's just one perspective I want to give on it. Now, in a perfect world, yeah, it'd be great if I could take, you know,
seasoned
a kid right from the hood, and he gets through and he goes, and I'm like, all right, you're from this area, we're going to put you over it. We do that as much as we can. We're doing that right now, especially like a spot that I work at. That specifically is happening when it can. But you just don't have the clientele when it comes to cops.
But I'm not even saying like somebody from the hood. Like you said, like if they were from the hood and they're a rookie, they might have a better chance. But if they're just from, you know, I don't know, nice neighborhood USA, you know, where it's, you know, demographically 65% Caucasian, 25% Asian, 25% Hispanic, 5% Black, or whatever.
Right.
I'm saying that, you know, if a cop that's from there and a rookie, okay, so I get what you're saying. Like we'd like to get people from that neighborhood to police that neighborhood. That's community policing aspect of it. We'd like to do that, but we can't logistically. I'm just saying, like the whole rookie thing. Like even if you're like from that neighborhood, you're still gonna deal with all those factors of I don't know, am I carrying this out? Am I doing that? Can I mean, you might be able to talk and socialize and be comfortable, but you still have a job that you have to consider those things. I'm just saying, like, when life is on the line, regardless of even if you're from there or not, it might make it easier. Yeah. Regardless, I would be thinking, like, put the seasoned officer there. That's the most, that would probably be even more important than if they're from that neighborhood.
Right.
The fact that you're seasoned. Yeah. If you're seasoned and from that neighborhood, okay, we got the trifecta. Right. You know? Yeah. But I would think that like the veteran experience would probably be what caught my attention. Wasn't the fact that you said they were not from the hood. What caught my attention was like you were like, we're throwing the rookie there. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, that just sounds dumb as hell.
Yeah. Now the thing that you got to think of though is like, let's say you're the veteran officer and I tell you you're working Friday, Saturday, Sundays on midnights.
I get it. It logistically doesn't make sense. Yeah. I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, I didn't consider that. I didn't know that's how you roll. Yeah. Now that you say that's how it happens, I understand the logistics of why it happens, but that just sounds like some shit waiting to hit the fan.
Here's how I'm glad you brought it up because it's a problem that we need to figure out how to reach a happy medium. I say incentivize these veteran officers to want to work midnights. How do you incentivize them? I don't know. Maybe give them a take-home car instead of maybe give them a senior officer pay bump because that's the quickest way to get somebody.
Money talks, bullshit walks, man.
Yeah, so you get
it's America,
paid.
baby.
Some would like just to have a take home car, especially the way gas prices are right now. There's talks of different ways to incentivize it, but right now nobody's coming up with solutions to try to get those veteran officers to want to, one, stay in patrol, period.
But would you agree that is a problem?
Oh, for sure. Because you're at most risk at 0 to 5 years as a cop to do something dumb because you're figuring the job out.
Yeah. And you're trying to create community trust and you're sending the dummies to do it.
Exactly. But at the same end is that whole trial by fire. They end up coming out really good officers because what they learned in
or they fuck up. They fuck up.
So
I said, you can fuck up the bread. That's great.
Yeah. That's what I said.
You know what I'm saying? You can go be a cook if you want to fuck up in your first 5 years.
Yeah. So it's why it's hard to get people to want to do this job. So I don't know how to fix that.
I'm not dogging it out, but that's just something I didn't consider until you brought that up.
Yeah. But that's good. We're having these conversations.
But now we can shift back to the other thing. So sent the signals up on that.
I'll get going on the bias part thing again because I now that I understood, you clarified, I get where you're going with that. What I would look for, let's say I do get that guy that has 5% black that was in his neighborhood where he grew up or whatever, and he recognizes like, I don't know how to talk to black people. I don't know how to deal with that type of culture. Whatever is it going through his head? Does he have the want to learn? If he has the want to learn, that's all I need. I need the drive. I can work with that. Let's go. Let's learn. Because you're willing to.
Are you speaking from a training standpoint, or are you talking from how?
I'm talking from a bias standpoint.
Okay.
If I'm looking at like, I'm scared, like I'm going to work in this black neighborhood and I don't know nothing about black people.
Okay.
Like if that's a thought going through the mind. Does he have the drive and the want to learn? Is he going there because he wants to help? And he's like, okay, I recognize that I'm going to suck at this, but how else am I going to learn?
And okay, I get what you're saying. So you're saying this is how an officer or the officer that we're talking about should deal with the bias.
In my opinion, yeah.
Oh, and I'm just clarifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you have a malicious bias, now we're talking something different.
Yeah.
If you show up,
you can't really fix that.
If you're like off,
it can be fixed, but you can't fix it.
Right. If you come in and we'll change it from race just to physical features. Like if you're like all fat people are pieces of shit because they are lazy and they don't work out and they don't stay fit. Yeah. They don't care about. Okay, so this is a bias that you recognize within yourself that's malicious. And to me, that has no business in police work. You can't come in with a malicious mindset. You can come in with an ignorant mindset where you didn't know what you didn't know. Like me, I came down here. I didn't understand Hispanic culture at all. I didn't have it in Michigan. So when I came down here.
They get about as far north as like Tennessee.
Right. So I come in on a domestic and I had to go in the house. And I wanted to, me and my partner, I'm like, all right, I'll talk to the female, you talk to the male. Well, the male comes over as I'm trying to talk. I'm like, sit down. And I'm in his house. Now, this doesn't mean it's purely a Hispanic thing. But what I learned real quick was, had I just taken a second, like, sir, I recognize you're the king of the castle. This is your house and this is your wife. Do you mind if I talk to her real quick while my partner, that little thing I learned. Yeah. I learned the hard way after a couple of little scrums of having to put somebody down, physically handle them, but it was my mouth that got me in trouble because I didn't understand the dynamics with the hierarchy in the house.
So will to learn.
Yeah.
Will to learn.
Yeah. It was a will to learn. And I'm like, I looked at it. I'm always analyzing like, why did that go wrong?
Do you feel like that is shared? That is a shared part of the culture in the law enforcement that you've been a part of?
In my experience, yes. I've seen rookies, they go in an area and I can see the questions just running through their mind. And I can see the way that they're talking to people that they don't recognize like, dude, in this area, respect is everything. Like you You need to, if it's just how you phrase it's just your words. And that's 99% of the job is your words. And it's not that they weren't trying to help, or it wasn't that they had a malicious mindset. They weren't there to be mean, do something bad. They just didn't have the experience. They didn't know, and they either didn't recognize it in themselves, or they had to learn the hard way, or they need a guy like you to come in and like, hey dude, had you just, shown him a little respect, like this wouldn't have went that way. But you came at him a different way. You came at him a way that doesn't work here. It's just things like that. And it's hard to explain without being involved. I think you understand what I'm saying.
I take, like I said, I feel like you answered it with will and drive to learn. That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
Okay. Defund. All right. We kind of covered that.
Yeah, that's a dumb concept. That's the opposite.
We didn't specifically talk about defund. We didn't say that's what it was, but I think we kind of talked about
when we started getting into the economics.
That kind of covers it.
Yeah. I don't think you can ever get enough training.
We kind of covered it, but I basically the question is: does the current form of police training create divisions between law enforcement and minorities in a certain way?
The training
do any components of the training? Can you see from your training is different from being in the field,
right?
And you try to get what's in the field and make your training better,
right?
But you're gonna realize over in the field before it hits training.
Yeah.
So do you see parts of the do you see any parts of the training that from your field experience, and I'm trying to ask it in a way that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It's not the way that was phrased, but I'm trying to ask it and I think that in the spirit of the question.
I do.
Do you see aspects of training that would create the character that would create division between minority communities and law enforcement?
Okay. So I won't say specifically that it's a minority thing, but it's just division in general with the community they serve. Okay. So I'll label it that way.
You can label it the way it is.
Yeah.
I asked the question how I answer. Yeah. I'm saying like your answer. I don't.
Yeah. So this is what I mean by that. I don't think any of it has anything to do specifically with race as much as communication. So when you're a rookie and you're training in the academy, everything is based on like the worst case scenario. So when you get out in the street, like your level of vigilance is way up here because you just went through an academy where they're showing you people getting shot. Officers getting, they walk up to do a traffic stop and the officer gets shot in the face, and they see the worst of the worst while they're in the academy. And there's kind of a purpose to that because we want you to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we preach to them that we're community police oriented.
Okay.
But we never take the time to teach community policing. We kind of tell them what it is.
Yeah.
We give them an idea.
Y'all got it. Y'all got a 30-minute video.
Right. But this is where I see the divide happen. They get out of the academy and they're on the streets and they're ready for all this, Karate Kid, ninja action stuff that they know could go wrong, and that community police oriented stuff hasn't been laid out and shown. But I don't know how to fix that because, in my opinion, you need to be trained up.
Send them there. Send them there. I mean, when I moved to Fort Worth, this is something that like it blew my mind because like we dealt with the officers killing black people, murdering black people before it was like a headline. Like this was something like when it started making headlines, it was like y'all are catching up. You know what I mean? To where the headlines were boring because I personally knew people. Like I knew these guys. One of them, it was a situation where the cop shot at these two kids that were in a stolen car, but they were asleep, and it took them like 6 months to get the video out. And so we were having like rallies at gymnasiums and stuff. There was so much outrage. These guys, to my knowledge, I think they were on Xanax or something. They were They were out. You know what I mean? One of them, when the shots went off, he got shot, but he got away. One of them was killed, and it took him a long. And this is like a couple of years before you started really seeing it pick up steam on the news. And that's just like one instance that comes to mind. But there was a lot more, and like we knew growing up that police means you could die. We knew that. I'm not saying that that's the objective truth, but that's what I'm saying. What my community truth
culturally
was.
it's something that,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like my one of my friends, his friend was going to commit suicide. He called him, and he got to his house to try to talk him out of it. The police showed up. He walked outside, stripped down to his drawers, and laid flat on the ground. Why? Because I don't want y'all to kill me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So when I came to Fort Worth, what blew my mind was I'd be driving my ice cream truck around the hood. We were in like the Butlers, Stop 6, the project areas of Fort Worth. And I forget the name of the officer. It's been some years, but there was this like female officer. Everybody in the projects, the Stop 6 projects, like I don't know the ones from the Butlers that well. I was closer to Stop 6.
Okay.
But everybody knew her. She probably had a patrol car, but I seen her just kind of like walking. You know that, are you familiar with Stop 6? You're kind of close. You're in Arlington.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. They got that little kind of field that's like right next to the projects where everybody kind of hangs out and stuff. She'll just be hanging out with them.
Yeah.
They'll be partying and barbecuing. You can see her there. You can see her and stuff. Of course, you got people making bust. Of course, you got dope houses getting their doors kicked in. You got all that stuff too. I mean, Stop 6 is notorious, you know?
Yeah.
But all the criminals knew her. All the pastors knew her. Everybody, the kids, everybody knew her, you know? So you say you don't know what to do with the rookies. Why don't you send them out there and just tell them to walk around? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like,
alone or with that officer?
You know what? I
think it'd be best to go around with that officer.
That for training purposes, if you're talking about training, yeah. I don't necessarily think that they would get like beat up or something bad happen to them, because there's still a cop walking around in a uniform,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
But at least get to go around.
Most criminals don't want to, like, you know, put a bullet in a police officer unless they really are trying to get the fuck away,
right?
And it's gonna be me or you.
So, I want to clarify.
But I agree. I think you know, maybe with her. I mean,
well,
or maybe with that officer. But I'm just you said you didn't know what could be done for that aspect of training the community policing, and I was just bringing up that example because I mean, I think that was like the best, dopest example that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, just send them there. Just
that
you spend some time there.
The thing that I want to clarify as far as like when you get cut loose from the academy and you're an officer now, like I didn't want you to think that as a rookie you're just out by yourself to the midnights, right?
Yeah, I would hope not.
You still have 4 months of on the job training with a seasoned officer. It's called a field training officer, but you typically hit each shift. So, like where I work, it's a morning evenings and midnight shifts. So 1 month you're mornings, the next month you're evenings, and let's say the last one you're midnights. But when you're done and then you get your little final on-the-job training test with your veteran officer, you get cut loose. You're over there. And
I was saying more like from the training aspect, like from like as part of your training, like you got to go out, like you got to walk around there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
get to know people.
You mean like like from while they're still in the academy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm just maybe a possible solution. Going.
I know I've seen classes where they just take them to the mall. Or they take them to like a town square where there's just a bunch of people, and they just make them say, "Hey, I'm such and such."
Well, I'm saying like in like the worst neighborhoods, because I mean, if you're gonna show them the worst of the worst neighborhoods, why don't you just show them what the regular people are? Right. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Now
you're starting to get into liability issues. Like, are they gonna let recruits go out there and possibly get in trouble, get hurt, whatever it is, on their own time? Or are they going to do it as a...
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get the spirit of what you're talking about, and I think you're on the right track. But, like, just tell them...
Or we're on the right track.
Yeah. I'm always on the right track. I'm on my track.
Right.
So, but yeah, I got you. You got any other stuff, bud? We're at 316 right now.
316. What's your opinion of the state of police transparency?
Love it. I think we're doing a great job. I think we're really getting ahead of the curve. We get body cam footage out there pretty quickly now, without jeopardizing investigations. I think.
And are you speaking from the perspective of your department, or in a whole? Just clarify. Yes, just clarify.
Generally speaking, I'm saying generally speaking, I think we're all headed in the right direction. LAPD does really good breakdowns, real fast. I won't get specific into my department, but my department I think does a really great job. I think we need to be careful. Because we're in that instant gratification society now, that we have to have an understanding, like, yes, stuff will get out as quick as it can, but you still have to have a little patience, because if it was your child or your family member that was involved as a suspect or a victim, now you got to start thinking, like, do you want stuff out there right away before a real investigation's been done, or do you just want video? You just want to see, because...
And I'm saying transparency, which is far beyond video,
right? I'm
not just talking about video. Transparency covers a really.
But I think that's when
things.
People think about it, that's the one that they go to right away. It's like, why are you guys holding that body cam footage? Why aren't you showing it? Why aren't you releasing this? Why aren't you releasing that? So, I just went with the most.
That's fair.
The most common thing.
That's fair.
As far as other transparencies go, it's hard, because what your citizens may want isn't necessarily what other citizens want. So I think it has to be based department by department. So, like, let's use Dallas, for instance. Let's say Dallas, they're keeping stats on everything, and they're putting all these stats out there so their people know, like, hey, look, we got in like 20% less car accidents this year in patrol cars. And they don't care about that.
Okay.
They don't want to know. But you just put all those man hours and all these different stats. You got to figure out what...
It's a business, or it has aspects of a business.
Yeah. So to me, transparency is just the willingness and flexibility to get information out.
Okay.
And I think as long as you've got the willingness and the flexibility with a good relationship, that'll always work out. Because there's always going to be a loud minority. Always going to be. Doesn't matter. You could have put the body cam footage out, and I'm using body cam again, but you could have put information out the day before it happened, and people were going to bitch. Why didn't you put it out 2 days before it happened?
Okay. Do you feel like some of the more like emotionally, loaded big headline issues that we've had, like the George Floyds and some of the other issues, like those issues become so big where transparency gets jeopardized in some of the bigger issues?
I do.
Do you think that's a thing?
I do. I think the George Floyd thing,
and I'm not just saying. I'm just saying situations like that, like when those situations happen,
right? Because I can tell you, as just an officer in general, if I was put in that George Floyd position, let's say, I would never be able to sit back and think I was going to get a fair trial or a fair shake. Period. I would never think I'm going to get a fair shake. And I don't want to. It goes for anybody. Let's say you're not a cop, and that same scenario, you were just trying to be a good Samaritan and keep somebody down or whatever it is. Regardless, like, you're not going to get a fair shake because that information got put out and it became a political hotbed so fast. I don't know how to get around that. So.
But I'm saying, how do you think that affects the transparency aspect? Do you think departments start catering to politics at that point?
Yes, I think so. I think that happens. Where like the new trend is officers just getting fired straight away. You didn't even have time to get the officer's side of the story. To find out what happened. It just automatically fired. And that happened recently near us, where an officer was just fired in less than it was in hours of the incident happening.
So was that an attempt at to be perceived as transparent?
I think so. I think it's there's a bunch of factors. I think there's political factors in that. Let's say a chief does fire the officer right away without the investigation even happened, right? You didn't even really get that side of the story, right? So is there political motivators? Is there, pressure from the politics above you, like the mayor or whoever it could be?
Because that's more a reaction within the department to a political cause than a reaction from the department for the purpose of transparency.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's supposed that you're doing the right thing, right? Yeah. That's supposed,
right.
But that doesn't really I don't think it has anything to do with showing what happened.
Yeah.
That's what transparency is.
Yeah. And there's two
and does it go both ways?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, you gotta weigh things too. Like, if me putting out this video, and I keep using video, but if me putting out body cam footage is going to stop violence from happening in the streets, like prevent a riot, well, that's something I got to consider. And I could see being, wearing the crown and being the chief of police or whatever, like, that's hard. That's a hard decision to make. And I'm not in that position. I don't know what I would do, given, let's say the Minnesota thing that happened, and that'd be rough. Like,
do you feel like sometimes in those heated events, equally, do you think that sometimes, let's say, videos get withheld for the same reasons, being politics?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think videos would get withheld just because politics of things. I think that could happen. It doesn't even necessarily have to involve,
because nobody is going to cuss you out because you put it out early. They might say, hey, you didn't put it out early enough, But they're not going to say, nah, we didn't want to see it. We didn't want to see it. They're always going to say, put out the cam, right? They're always going to say, put out the video.
Right.
So if videos might get put out prematurely because it's a politically heated event.
Yeah.
At the same time, if on some occasions they get withheld for the same political reasons, different situations, but the reason still being political, don't you think that, you know, the people that are on the receiving end, those communities that didn't get those videos, just like there's people that are logical enough to know this is why we put it out and that was stupid, you know, there are also people that are smart enough to recognize like this shit didn't get put out and that's fucked up.
Right.
You know, that's the politics of things.
I think that's going away. I think stuff very rarely, I can't think of an incident anymore where something that's, you got the Freedom of Information Act. So it may take
20 years.
Well, it may take the course of
when the CIA pulls all the whiteout off, and
so I get that type of thing, but I just don't. I haven't seen that in so long. I haven't seen something be withheld that I can think of specifically, unless it's like a government. Has
it been like in 17 years of policing? Has it been an evolution?
Oh yeah,
with that.
Oh yeah,
where there was a time when shit was withheld.
Yeah, well, I think it was stuff. It wasn't intentionally withheld with like a malicious intent to hide stuff. I think it was withheld because that's the way things. We're not releasing anything till the investigation's finished. That was that standard across the board. That's how it was. We're not releasing jack shit till this investigation's over. Well, I may be a terrible detective and you're a really good detective, and your investigation goes really quick.
Or the politics of it might say, you know, before we let this shit be officially over, we're gonna let 3 times as many people dot the I's and cross the T's as we would normally have dot the I's and cross the T's before we say it's over. And due to the fact that it took that much more time, and if you're saying the prerogative is we're not letting it out till it's over, that can give the perception of like what's the holdup?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying
I'm not trying to do that either. I'm just trying to get your perspective because you're saying it's definitely gotten better. Yeah, right.
I think it's gotten better,
and I'm just trying to see where it's came from.
I think,
you know?
Yeah, I think we're so much better at the job now than we were then because of technology.
Okay.
So the ability to get things out quicker are there that were never there before. You know, police departments they don't have to wait for a press conference anymore. They can just walk in their little room like I got and release everything. They have their own little press conference on their own. That was not a thing back in the day. Like you had to have CBS, NBC. You had to call them to get any sort of message out at all. And now look where we're at. I could literally just pick my phone up and be like, hey, Chief of Police here. This is what we got going on. In the nature of transparency and trying to keep everything on the up and up, this is what we got right now. And this is about as much as I can release.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's getting better.
We've talked transparency. I got one more question because I know it wouldn't be the lightning round if things didn't go fast.
What's up?
And I think it's a good question. I think it's a deep question. And you know, I think we're running out of time because I gotta go to sleep and wake up and go run and go to school tomorrow.
I got you.
So there is definitely a perception that police officers back other police officers when they're in the wrong.
The thin blue line.
The thin blue line. Yeah. Can you describe what you know what it is? I think everybody watching knows what it is. So I don't think we need to like talk about what it is. But can you talk about how you feel about it or describe it. Is it a thing? Is it not a thing? Does it happen? When does it happen? If it does happen, how much of a subculture is it?
Right. Okay. So I'm glad. Yeah, I've actually covered this before on this show. So I'll tell you what the thin blue line is to me.
Okay.
First. So the thin blue line to me first is just family and a job that most people don't have to do. Like you, let's just say as a DJ, you get killed at work. All right. It sucks.
Yeah.
Now, the people that are in your company, they may throw a little lunch in. Remember you.
Oh, they're going.
Dude.
We're DJs. We're going to do more than throw a fucking lunch. And y'all better. All right, Tandy.
Okay.
Y'all better do more than throw a fucking lunch in. All right.
Maybe they make a T-shirt, something. But
at the minimum, I'm getting a T-shirt. I'm getting a T-shirt for sure.
Here's where I think the thin blue line comes in. I go down at work. You're another officer. For the rest of my life, or for the rest of my kid's life, guess where you're at prom? You're at their wedding. My wife needs a lawn mowed.
Yeah, okay.
You're doing that. That does not happen in many career fields. So to me, that's what the thin blue line means. It means taking care of each other when the worst happens, or taking care of each other just through COVID. I went down for COVID. I had buddies at work that were like, "Hey man, we're just checking on you. Wants to bring you any food? You wants to do it."
Okay.
To me, that's the thin blue line. Now, what causes the stereotypical thin blue line? Covering for each other. I think that goes to citizen support. I think that's the root of all of it. If you have a city that supports their police, really supports them, funds them, is all about training, and they approve of how they're doing the job. Those cops are not going to let a bad cop ruin a good thing for them. Okay? So I've never, and I'm saying this 100% honest. You can look at me in the eyes, you can tell me if I'm lying or not. I've never seen a cop do anything corrupt and didn't get called for it. I've never seen another cop try to cover for a cop doing something illegal. So does it exist? I'm sure it does. It could. And what do I think the driving force behind that is a community that doesn't support their police. Hiring standards start to lower. All that snowball effect that I told you about starts to happen.
So I can see how less, how being less funded, and I get that point. But do you think it's fair to start the beginning with the community? Because you're saying okay, community supports the police, right?
Right.
And so we're gonna develop better police officers. But you don't think that, let's say you haven't experienced that, the stereotypical blue thin blue line, right?
Right.
But let's say you would agree it does exist as a sub.
Oh, it's proven.
You know what I'm saying? So
it's
in situations that it does happen, don't you think it kind of takes responsibility away from the institution to say, to start saying, okay, well, it's because the people don't support the police.
Oh, no. Okay, so I don't. It's
that's how it sounds, and I promise you, anybody that I go to class with, that's how they're gonna perceive what you're saying.
Right, and that's not what I mean. It doesn't. This shit doesn't happen overnight. This is a buildup. It all starts with small things, and once.
So, that being said, you're saying that it's a buildup. Okay, 2021. I think the thin blue line doesn't really get its roots as a stereotype from anything that's happened now, anything that's happened in 1990, anything that's happened in 1950. I think the stereotype of the thin blue line, if you trace its origin, comes from right after slavery. I think that's the root of that idea. You know, when you were passing laws and when it was socially acceptable to hunt black people and to do a lot of atrocities that, you know, we as a society think, okay, well, we've learned from those mistakes.
Right.
And you know, 1980s cop culture is not the same as it is. You know, when I was, 2000, gay marriage, I would say most people it was socially acceptable that fuck no, like there was a lot of like, the LBGs and all these alphabets and stuff, like the F word, and calling a homosexual a faggot and stuff. That was a socially acceptable thing in 1995. Now we're in 2000. So if you talk about like that process, I feel like you're describing something that might take 10 years or 15 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? You talk about the community support and the funding and the education, all leading to this apex of this thin blue line that, we'll both admit is fucked up and not the right thing. But when I think you're talking about it from a context of a 15-year spiral, when that concept is so much older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so much older. So if that, even if it's in a different kind of form, is older than is large as this spiral effect that you talking about. It's like that spiral effect is 20-year cycle tops, right?
Yeah.
But in 20 years, everybody that was a rookie is on their freaking way out. Fair? Is that fair?
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't know if you can characterize it as like, you could say that its carnation now is that's maybe, but the line was there. It's been I feel like the line, the stereotype in that concept outdates that spiral. So, if it came before that spiral, it's almost like, maybe the spiral caused it in this situation, but there had to be some inherent root of it beforehand, because the spiral didn't invent it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The spiral didn't invent the thin blue line, and I'm not talking about your virtuous version. But the spiral didn't. You know what I'm saying? What do you make of the historical context of that? Because that component, I think you have to consider when you're talking about the thin blue line today.
I think police work and culture in general, like you said, things that weren't acceptable or that were acceptable aren't acceptable now, right? And that's how we have progressed as a nation. It's continuously gotten better and better and better and better.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the shit that went down in the 60s was good. It was still really bad, but let's go back to the 1800s. That was worse, but it's gotten better and better and better and better. So when we talk about the thin blue line concept in the way that you're talking, I'm fortunate. I haven't seen it, and I'm being dead honest. But that doesn't mean it didn't exist. Just like slavery. I've never seen a slave personally, but it doesn't mean it didn't exist. I know it existed. So with the thin blue line, it's getting that 15-year plan that you're referring to of, let's say, making sure this is stuff that we're just now realizing in the last 10 years, that this is how important community and police work working together is. We've tried it where the police just did everything. That didn't work. We've tried it where we try to go heavy with just the community trying to do most of the stuff, like you saw in Seattle. That shit didn't work. Chaz, remember when they had that city they called Chaz, where the citizens tried to, is a no police state?
Man, I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm not a big news person. I'm not a humongous news person, mostly because the news is bad.
Yeah,
you know.
So I'll give you this,
and I'd question calling it news. I don't even think is the right description for it.
So these idiots tried to do their own city, basically with no police, and they kept the police out, and the mayor backed that up and didn't let any police in there. It turned into a shit show, just like you think it would. So, So the point I'm getting to is,
they tried something.
We cannot do the job that we need to do, that y'all want us to do, and that we want to do for you. We can't do it without each other. So that's the point I'm getting to, is like these are concepts in the way that we're doing it now. It's not an easy fix. It's not an overnight thing. You have a lot of trial and error, but we're heading in the right direction. So I can't say that it's going to happen overnight. I wish it could, but I think that's unrealistic. But the important part is we see it. We've recognized things. Like you said, the thin blue line, good or bad. Obviously, I have a good version of what I think the thin blue line means. I think, to me, like I said, it's just looking out for family and knowing that if I die on the job, that my daughters are going to have somebody walk them down the aisle one day.
Okay. So to sum up, kind of what I hear you saying, and you said it, I didn't hear kind of like an acknowledgement of the historical perspective. So I thought it was kind of important to bring that in to the conversation.
Yeah.
But to kind of sum up, what you're saying with regards to it is where we're at now. Not to say regardless of the historical, but it's happened in where we're at now in the process, somewhat objectively, like this is what's actually events that are happening. These are not ideas and theory and shit like that. This is like really what's happening is that right now within law enforcement, it's really a matter, and I'm paraphrasing your opinion about it, is really a matter of kind of resources, funding, and community relationships.
Yeah, not just relationship, but communication.
Communication. And when any of those things kind of let's say just fail, you'll have a tendency, or there might be more of a tendency to fall on, like to start seeing more of a subset of the stereotypical thin blue line. Is what you're saying.
Yes, those are the catalysts. Those are the catalysts. Yeah.
Can you say, why you think that is? And the reason I ask why is because, if say I'm driving and you cut me off in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I can flick you off, right? I can cuss you out or whatever. Or I can, ignore it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah.
So I say, like, I don't necessarily think that if you say, okay, the funding fails, or the communication fails, or the training fails, I don't see like the connection with, all right, now you start seeing more of the thin blue line, the stereotypical version. I don't see a direct, like,
Yeah.
This leads to this. Like,
yeah,
it does lead to this. And I think we're both, you're acknowledging that these factors does lead to this. But I don't think like that's what you would just think happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
So do you kind of have a kind of idea of why that happens? Like why, as opposed to something else happening?
Yeah.
Funding could fail, training could fail, communication could fail, and something else other than that could happen.
Yeah.
So why, out of the things that could happen, does that happen?
I don't have a good answer, to be honest. I don't have a good answer. I can just tell you my speculations on why. My speculations on why would be the degradation. Like if everything starts to degrade. Quality officer, that is going to slowly start to degrade. Meaning less training, right?
Okay.
A connection with the community that they serve. If I were to hire you today to go guard a house for the night and 3 armed guys come up, you can be like, take it. It ain't worth it. I ain't trying to get in all that. Fuck it. You know what I mean?
I would probably look at you like, huh?
Right?
Me?
Yeah. But me, the person that hired you, aka the citizens, is going to look like, why didn't you do your fucking job? Yeah. Now we start to beef even more, right? So it's a terrible analogy because I can't think of another way to explain it. But in a nutshell, what I'm getting at is if I lose communication with the community and I lose focus as a cop, like you ain't worth doing this job for. So I ain't gonna do the job. I ain't gonna do it. And then when there is a bad apple, when there is a bad seed, and he does something that, you know, he takes money off a drug dealer.
Disconnected.
Shit. I don't care. I didn't see shit. What? You don't give a shit about me, and you're trying to get me in trouble. And if I do get in a gunfight, at least this guy is gonna help me. I know he'll help me. So I think that's the premise on that. I see that. Does that make sense?
Is it kind of like, you know, if you're going to keep calling me a thief, fuck it, I'm a steal type shit?
Yeah, I don't think it's as simple as that.
Not as simple, but like kind of framing it like in the same type of the nature of the degrade.
Yeah. Yes. And like I said, there's a documentary on Netflix that the guy does a really good job of being super honest about how when he came out of the academy, he was gung ho, wanted to make a difference. And then he started seeing like all these factors I was telling you about, citizens spitting on him, not giving a shit about him.
He became what they were saying he was.
Yeah, in a sense. And, you know, money getting cut where they weren't getting paid very much. You know, they couldn't even afford to live in the city that they worked in and all these different factors. Now, I think we've come a long way. We've learned from those mistakes and seeing things like that, things that happened like in New Orleans where cops were like protecting drug dealers. I mean, that shit happened. Yeah. That happened.
It happens. So, this is America.
Yeah. So learning from, I hate seeing bad things happen, but as long as I can learn from it, you know, as a cop that had nothing to do with it, you know, what do our parents always try to do? They try to tell us to learn from, they're trying to teach us from their mistakes so we don't make the same mistakes. So that's the way I look at it.
Hopefully, if you're blessed.
Yes.
And if not, you're still blessed.
Yeah. So in making mistakes, I try to tell officers too, don't be afraid to mess up. If you make a mistake of the mind, we can fix that.
I saw that
But
episode.
if you make a mistake of the heart, I got nothing for you. And then that's just the way I look at it. I ain't going to protect you. And I sure as shit ain't going to lose my job trying to look out for you being a bad cop. So.
Right on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Lightning Round with the real DJ Indy and Officer Eric Levine.
All right, brother. I'm glad you came out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It was real, man. Dope conversation, man.
I like it.